Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our News Watch unit for the month of August, and we've got a couple of news stories that we would like to talk about with you today. One is about Australian farms having trouble because of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's a labor shortage down there. And then we've got this thing called Unity for Humanity and their award, which celebrates social activism in gaming. So it's all about people who play video games.
Yeah, but these video games are a bit different. The focus is on trying to help people who are playing the games, help them understand the world a little better.
Indeed. So let's dive right into this. Let's not delay any further, and we'll read the articles for you right now. Tens of millions of US dollars in crops have gone to waste in Australia since the COVID-19 crisis left the isolated country with a severe shortage of farm workers. With borders closed due to the pandemic, the young backpackers who made up the bulk of the country's workforce have evaporated, leaving harvests rotting in the fields. We've never faced a worker shortage like this in my 40 years. Apple farmer Peter Hall told the New York Times. Before the pandemic, more than 200,000 backpackers a year worked in the sector. Now that number has dropped to only 45,000. This is causing financial stress to the farmers, but that's not all. A quarter of growers are saying their mental health has taken a turn for the worse. To worsen the situation, few Australian citizens want to make up the shortfall. A recent government program promising $6,000 Australian dollars to new farm hires only received 350 applications. Australia will have to find an alternative solution if it wants to keep this important sector of its economy from declining further.
Unity for Humanity Award celebrates social activism in gaming. In March, software developer Unity Technologies selected 5 game experiences as the winners of the Unity Prize for Humanity, which celebrates digital projects that aim to create meaningful change in society. Unity representative Jessica Lindell said that for the prize, the company chose developers who connect us more deeply to our global society and help us see the world a bit differently. Recipients will be given a grant of $25,000 as well as development and distribution support for their projects. All of this year's winning projects deal with tough social issues like racism. Our America, for example, is a VR experience in which players assume the role of a black father whose car is pulled over by a white police officer. One reason why the timing of this game is particularly important is that it was developed ahead of the first anniversary of the killing of George Floyd by police. It's hoped that by using such creative approaches, Our America and the other award winners will lead the way for a new, more sympathetic generation of gaming experiences.
Okay, now that you've heard these two stories, we're going to begin with the first one, and it's all about Australian farms. They have been crippled by the COVID-19 labor shortage. Now, if you're crippled by something, that's a verb. It just means you've been damaged by something and you cannot perform like you normally can. So these farms have suffered because of a labor shortage. So they've been crippled by it. They've been damaged by this labor shortage. A shortage means you just don't have enough of something.
Yeah, you can actually be crippled, right? If you get into an accident and your legs are hurt and you can no longer walk. Or here we're using it more figuratively. An industry is hurt by something, and here we're talking about Australian farms. They don't have enough workers. So tens of millions of US dollars in crops. Crops are those fields of food that are being raised. Those are crops have gone to waste. They're not getting harvested, so they're just, wasting away in the field. Why? Because of the COVID-19 crisis. It's left the isolated country with a severe or very extreme, very serious shortage of farm workers. With borders closed due to the pandemic, and a lot of countries did do that, they closed down their borders like Taiwan. The young backpackers who used to just go over there to, have a good time, earn a little money, sightsee, hang out with their buddies, they're no longer going over there. They were the ones who made up the bulk of the country's workforce. And these backpackers, they've just evaporated or just kind of disappeared into thin air. Now, if you make up the bulk of something, it just means you're the majority of whatever number you're talking about. I would say that Americans make up the bulk of foreigners who live in Taiwan. We have other foreigners from, say, England, the UK, Germany, France, maybe over in other countries like Korea. We have some Koreans here, Japanese. But I would say Americans make up the bulk of the foreigners who live in Taiwan. That's how to use that particular phrase.
Or rice makes up the bulk of the local diet here in Taiwan. Most people eat rice on a daily basis. And this, of course, used to be a tradition among young people who were going to university. Maybe they decided to take a little time off.
Take a year off, yeah.
Take a year off and go to Australia and work on a farm, make some money, meet some other people, get some work experience and things like that. I've heard lots of stories from local young people who have done just that. But you can't do that anymore because they closed their borders. And, of course, these farms in Australia began to rely on those backpackers for their labor. Of course, working on a farm requires a lot of work. Somebody has to go out there and pick all the plants by hand, or they need to remove all the weeds by hand. There aren't really any machines that can do that. So if you don't have a lot of people who can do that, then your farms are just not going to be very productive.
Yeah, the apples in particular would just rot or fall off the trees as they got too old. So we've got an apple farmer here, Peter Hall. He was interviewed in the New York Times. So a reporter called him and asked him about the experience there that they're going through. He said before the pandemic, more than 200,000 backpackers a year wanted to work in the sector or came over to work in the farming business. Sector here just means a distinct part or branch of something you're talking about. It could be the economy or society, or we even have sectors in the computer industry on chips, but it's a part of something, and it refers to whatever topic you're discussing. Here we're talking about a sector in Australia's economy, and that's their farming industry.
Yep, we've got the manufacturing sector, the education sector, etc., the service sector. These are all part of the economy. So, yes, indeed, they worked in the agricultural sector there, and the number was up to 200,000 there. But now that number has dropped to only 45,000. So that's less than a quarter of the farm workers that they used to have. And this is causing financial stress to the farmers, as you might expect, but that's not all. A quarter of growers are saying their mental health has taken a turn for the worse. And that, of course, is understandable if you're a farmer and you're trying to make enough money to pay your bills and things like that, and suddenly you just can't get people to harvest your crops and stuff like that. That's going to cause you a lot of personal stress.
Yeah, and that phrase at the end, taking a turn for the worse. If you take a turn for the worse, it just means you go from bad to even worse. So it's not a good direction to be heading for sure. So to worsen the situation, few or very few Australian citizens want to make up the shortfall. They don't want to go out and harvest and be in the fields and the crops harvesting, say, apples or some sort of other fruit or vegetable. The shortfall is the difference between what you need and how much you actually have. That's the difference or the shortfall. They don't have enough. A recent government program promising 6,000 Australian dollars to new farm hires only received 350 applications. I guess everybody's rich over there. If I were over there, I would actually see if I could just pick up some extra work. But Australia will have to find an alternative solution if it wants to keep this important sector of its economy from declining further. Australia is really well known for producing delicious fruit and vegetables. It's very, very fresh tasting. So if we don't have them producing, we might really be lacking some food. There might be a food shortfall in the world. So we hope that some people will either decide to go out and start taking the place of these backpackers, or they find an alternative solution. Alternative just means another option, another choice. So if you don't have any other alternatives, it means you don't have any other choices. But here it says that they need to find some. They need to find some other options, need to find some other solutions quickly.
They certainly do. Otherwise, all that food is going to rot in the fields. And, of course, without the food, people are not going to be able to buy the food in their local farmer's market. And there will be food shortages and starvation and riots and war and stuff like that. So this is a big problem. Hopefully, the COVID-19 pandemic will blow over pretty soon, and those backpackers can return to good old Australia there down under. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
大家好，我是派老师。今天讲解的是8月份 Unit 11 News Watch。这里有2篇新闻报道。第一篇的标题是 Australian farms crippled by COVID-19 labor shortage。大家都知道，武汉肺炎疫情全球肆虐，不止造成许多人染疫丧生，而且重创全球经济。这篇新闻报道就在告诉我们，位于南半球的澳洲，农作物采收长期依赖外国背包客贡献劳力，但是为了防堵疫情扩散，国门关闭，同时也阻绝了外来的劳力协助。好，我们一起看看这篇新闻报道的英文学习重点。首先，请看标题 Australian farms crippled by COVID-19 labor shortage。请同学注意 cripple 这个动词。那我们看到 cripple 其实是可以引申出来当作严重瘫痪损坏的意思，所以这个标题的意思就是澳洲农场因为武汉肺炎缺工而停摆。接着请看到第一段第二句 with borders closed 一直到 in the fields 这个句子。这个句子比较复杂，我们一步步拆解来看。首先先看到逗点之后这个主要子句的地方The young backpackers have evaporated. 那老师是先把这个关系子句先括号括起来，我们先看主要子句就好。就是年轻的背包客怎么样 evaporated 当然不是蒸发，而是消失的意思。接下来我们看一下这里关系子句所说的 Who made up the bulk of the country's workforce 到底什么意思？其实就是 The backpackers made up the majority of Australia's workforce， 就是这些背包客他们构成了澳洲主要的劳力。那我们再来请看到 with 这个部分， with 它是附带说明在某种状态下的意思。那其实 with 这个句子的意思就是 The borders are closed due to the pandemic。 不过因为 with 是介系词，后面只能加名词，所以必须去掉后面的 are， 只保留过去分词 closed， 表示被动。With the borders closed due to the pandemic， 因为武汉肺炎疫情，国境关闭。最后我们看到 leaving， 其实这里是省略了 which， 逗点之后这个 which 代替的是前面这一整个句子。这样的情况造成什么呢？造成农作物的收成都在怎么样？农场里烂掉了。这个 leave 我们不要把它解释成离开，而是呢，就造成这些农作物的收成在农地里、在农庄里、农场里就烂掉了。好，接下来请同学呢看一下第二段最后一句 ，take a turn for the worse 这个片语指的是变得比较糟。那最后一段呢，请同学看到 make up the shortfall 这个 shortfall， 它的意思就是指 差额。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi guys, welcome back. It's our News Watch unit. We already discussed the first story, which is that Australia has a shortage of backpackers or farm workers, actually. They're farm workers who usually are made up of backpackers who go to Australia for fun, earn some money, meet some new people, but because of COVID, a lot of countries are closing down their borders. And you can't fly in or out of some countries. So it's made a mess over there. They don't have enough workers. And we're losing a lot of their fresh fruits and vegetables. So our next story is Unity for Humanity Award. Celebrates social activism in gaming. This is a story that will affect some of our gamers out there. I know we've got a lot of gamers in Taiwan, people who like to play video games. And I understand it. I don't play a lot of them, but I have played a little bit. So what is social activism? Well, if you are into any sort of activism, it means you go out and you want to educate the public about a social issue. Maybe you think that we don't have enough education for the poor, or we need better health care for a population that's not being served, or whatever it might be. You get out there and you educate people and you fight for new policies and laws to be passed by the government. So we've got a group called the Unity for Humanity Award. They came up with this prize and they look around at different gaming companies and they select ones that they feel are really contributing toward positive changes in humanity. That's what they do.
That's what they do, and here's what it says in the first paragraph. It says, in the month of March, software developer Unity Technologies selected 5 game experiences as the winners of the Unity Prize for Humanity, which celebrates digital projects that aim to create meaningful change in society. So this is a software developer by the name of Unity Technologies, and I guess they sponsor this award, the Unity Prize for Humanity, and this developer selected 5 game experiences as the winners of this particular prize. And this prize celebrates digital projects that, of course, aim to create meaningful change in society, to improve our society, and stuff like that. Now, digital here, of course, refers to mostly computer products. Oftentimes, we use the word digital in opposition to the word analog, like there used to be analog sound recording, for example, with tape machines and stuff like that. But now we have digital recording machines, but digital usually refers to things that have to do with computers or video games or cyberspace or whatever.
Now, Unity representative, she actually works for the group that hands out the award. Her name's Jessica Lindell. She said that for the prize, the company chose software developers. And this is a quote. You see the quotation marks around these words. Her quote is, who connect us more deeply to our global society and help us see the world a bit differently. So that's what they in particular are looking for in order to say someone won. They want to see them trying to help the global world connect more and understand each other better. Now, recipients are people who actually receive something. You can be a recipient of an award, or maybe you got a really great scholarship. You were a scholarship recipient. Congratulations, if that's the case. So a recipient is simply someone who receives something. We usually use it to talk about some sort of award, acknowledgement, some sort of prize that someone got. So they will be given a grant. Oh, you want to see that word if you're up for a prize. A grant means you're getting some sort of money. So they'll be given a grant of 25,000 US dollars. That's a lot of money, as well as development and distribution support for their projects. Sometimes people will invent really great products, but they don't have anyone to help get them distributed. So no one knows about them, so they never sell any or get any attention. So they will help you with distribution as well as give you a grant of money. So this is a big, big prize. Distribution is the noun form of the verb to distribute. So that's pretty good news for the people, of course, that win this Unity for Humanity award.
Yep, if you are the recipient of the award, you'll get support for development of your ideas, and they'll also support you in your efforts for distribution to get that idea and that project and that software program or whatever out to lots of people so that they can use it as well. Sounds like a pretty good situation there. And all of this year's winning projects deal with tough social issues like racism. These are issues in society. Racism is one of them. I suppose income inequality is another, or urban crime or whatever. Those are all issues that we face in our societies. And yes, these winners, all their projects deal with really difficult social issues.
We've got one here as an example, racism. The software developer or the company produced a game called Our America. It's actually a VR experience, virtual reality, where you put on the headphones and you're looking through some special goggles and stuff. It's a VR experience in which players assume the role of a black father. So it's almost like you are putting yourself in someone else's shoes. You're assuming the role of the father, and he's black. His car is pulled over by white police. White police officer pull him over for whatever reason. And one reason why the timing of this game, or when it was released, is particularly important is that it was developed ahead of the first anniversary of the killing of George Floyd by police. Yeah, that happened about a year ago, where the police arrested a man and he was struggling. He was trying to get away from them. He was on drugs, and so he wasn't doing very well to begin with. And then a police officer had him on the ground and was kneeling on his neck, and he passed away during this period of time. So this is the first anniversary that we're coming upon, and so our writer says one reason why this game is really relevant or important is because it's happening at the right time.
Indeed. So that is one possible situation there that could happen in society if you're a black father driving along and you get pulled over by a white police officer. And that's a verb phrase here, to pull over. We often use that to talk about stopping your car at the side of the road. Hey, I need to pull over. There's something wrong with the car. But here, to be pulled over by someone means that the police basically stop you and tell you to, show your ID and do as they say and stuff like that, because they want to check something out in your car, or they want to see if you're drinking or something like that.
Maybe you were speeding.
Yeah, exactly, speeding or using drugs or whatever. And one reason why the timing of this game is particularly important, as you said, is because it happened before the first anniversary of the killing of George Floyd, which happened in May of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And it's hoped that by using such creative approaches, Our America and the other award winners will lead the way for a new, more sympathetic generation of gaming experiences. So yes, that's the goal of this award here, to let the winners lead the way for other people to develop new and more sympathetic gaming experiences, or a sympathetic generation of people, basically. And sympathetic means that people are sensitive to the problems of other people. We're not just worried about our own little problems.
Yeah, sympathetic people just show a lot of empathy, sympathy for people who are going through hard times. And a generation, of course, is the people that all are born around the same time and they grow up together. So hopefully we'll have some more gaming experiences that will allow the gamers, who are usually or typically a younger generation, to understand other people's experiences, to put themselves in someone else's shoes. Okay, guys, that's all the time we have for that particular story. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
第二则新闻的标题是 Unity for Humanity Award celebrates social activism in gaming. 有个软体开发商叫做 Unity Technologies， 他们创办了一个奖项，叫做 The Unity Prize for Humanity， 主要是要奖励可以带来社会正向改变的数位专案。好，我们一起看看这篇新闻报道的英文学习重点，请看第二段。Unity Representative Jessica Lindo said that for the prize， 那一直到后面的 see the world a bit differently。好，请同学呢把这个 who connects us more deeply to our global society 画起来，指的呢就是这些电玩的开发商。他们想要颁奖给什么样的电玩开发商呢？ Connects us more deeply to our global society， 让我们可以跟全球社会更紧密的、更深度的连结。好，接下来请看到下一个句子 Recipients will be given a grant of， 请同学把 recipients 画起来，那就是得奖者。后面的 a grant of其实呢，这里 grant 是当作名词，就是奖金。那我们知道 grant 其实也可以当作动词，动词呢其实就是给予，那当然是正式很多了。那当作动词用，就是跟 give 的用法其实是一样的。再来，我们看到第三段，请看到第一句，请同学把 deal with 画起来。今年呢，所有的得奖作品都处理到 deal with， 就处理到比较严重的社会议题。好，接下来第二题，第二个句子，请同学呢特别看到后面 For example is a VR experience in which， 请同学把这个 in which 画起来。这里的 which 所代替的就是 VR experience， 在这些虚拟实境的体验游戏当中。好，那再来请同学看到后面的 assume the role of， 把 assume the role of 画起来，担任什么角色？动词我们用 assume。 好的，以上就是我们针对这两篇新闻报道所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. And there you have it, a couple of news stories for the month of August. Hopefully all of your news will be good news. You're going to get some bad news, of course, but hopefully most of your news will be good. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.